Okay.
What happened?
All right. I know what. We're just gonna roll right into the recording. Hi, everybody watching our Deltarune videos. It is what, like less than a week now? Question mark. Or exactly a week now? One of the two. Certainly within that realm. Uh, and we have time for maybe one more theory before a lot of them get proven or disproven. It's me, Zach. With me is Mike.
Hello, I'm Mike, and I'm ready for everything that I know to be proven wrong, like it was last time.
Yep, is a mild Chris Knight defender. Wrong, but like we learned interesting things adjacent to that. I want to talk about, I think, one of the more popular points of contention, theory crafting, and also one of the main themes of Deltarune, in my opinion. It's hard to say what the main themes are when we're not done with the story yet, but I'm pretty confident this is one of them. In here, I have a lot of different pieces of evidence. I did a lot more homework this time around. And Mike, I'm going to let you pick whether you want a hint that is from Deltarune, a hint that is from Undertale, a hint that is from Chrono Trigger, or a hint that is from Barkley, Shut Up, and Jam Gaiden. And I promise
What
they
the
all build
fuck?
towards the same theory. I sometimes give hints. We're talking about some of the main themes here, and part of Toby Fox's whole deal is that he likes to explore video game tropes. And so I found some great examples that I think are parallel to what I'm thinking here. And Mike, I'll let you pick which of those four you want to be the first clue that appears on screen.
Okay, let's start with Undertale first before we leap into fucking Shut Up and Jam Gaiden of all
You
things.
know what? That's fair. And then if you want a card later, we can make it that one. So I'm going to paste it right in here. I'm going to make it a much smaller font than that one. Let's go with a nice 16 here. There we go. Bam. I should probably share my screen so that you can see it. Let me do that real quick.
Yes, I was
Uh,
about to ask that.
yes, let me do such things. So, uh, as you can see, in Undertale, the concepts of grinding and save scumming in JRPG games are commented on and criticized, becoming a central theme of the game. And I think
Mhm.
we have the whole piece of Undertale. We understand what Undertale is about. It's about a lot of things. But two of the things that it comments on are very JRPG like sort of things. I mean, save scumming is
Yeah,
done in a lot of different game genres, uh, and grinding is also done in a lot of different game genres, but they are like core parts of JRPG gaming, especially games with branching paths. People like to save before they make a decision.
yeah,
And then if it doesn't go the way they like, they go back and change their mind. Uh, and in Undertale, that is not like above the text of the game. That is text in the game. The game expects you to do that, which is fascinating and interesting. That the game comments on the fact that you have save scummed. And the game also has a different, alternate, and terrifying path if you are grinding and killing every NPC you can find. Uh,
yeah.
so, let's talk about now. Thinking about Deltarune, what other things are we commenting on in Deltarune that maybe they were commented on Undertale, and what maybe things are new that weren't commented on in Undertale?
Oh, is that a question for me?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so kind of relating to the idea of save scumming, um, or just saving and reloading continuously. It seems like that is a huge part of Deltarune, but in a different way than Undertale is. Where Undertale is about exploring alternate paths, Deltarune is about exploring the one alternate path as well, but I think that I think the idea of saving and reloading plays into the narrative in a little bit more of a subtle way. Uh, One thing I want to bring up, this seems like a side tangent, but if you start a fresh file in chapter one, and when you approach the first save point, when you enter the Dark World, Kris already has a save file.
Ding! Oh, you got it. That was the very
Yeah,
first Deltarune hint. In the
yeah,
first chapter of Deltarune, you save over Chris's file.
yeah. It seems very, very inconsequential, but the more that of the game that comes out, the more I am reminded of this thing.
Hello, Mike. I think this is the central theme of the game. Actually, we're
Yeah,
we're we're
um,
getting there pretty quickly.
yeah. Like the way that I think saving and reloading plays into Deltarune is that I think Kris has essentially used the ability to save and load, perhaps under their own power at first, in order to change or avert the tragedy of the prophecy.
Yeah,
And in failing so much, maybe requires the soul to come in.
yeah, it's unclear the relationship between the soul and Kris, other than it's not
Yeah.
one and the same. That
Yeah,
much
and,
has
and
been made.
also that the power dynamic between the soul and Kris is very much not what it seemed like at first. The soul actually has relatively little power with regards to Kris. Oh, hold on. One
Yeah,
second.
yeah. Oh, very good. I agree, and I feel like that it's beyond the scope of theory to say that the soul and Kris, the relationship between that is a core driving part of the story, and it is beyond theory and explicitly confirmed by many scenes of the game that they are often in conflict with each other when not in concert with each other. That you can actively do things as the soul that Kris really, really, really wishes you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Which
And in
is
other cases, will actively try to prevent the player from doing.
yes,
Throwing shit at the soul, hitting it with a fucking hockey stick.
yeah, yeah, desperately, desperately trying to get the soul not to do the things that Kris does not want the soul
Yeah.
to do. Which then we tend to talk about agency. Kris has agency more so than most JRPG
Yeah.
like uh, characters do.
And like a fair bit more than I think the player is led on to. But also, funnily enough, they lack a lot of agency too.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
Basically, their agency to me seems like it applies mostly towards their interaction with the soul, because they are very much bound by the prophecy. The first of the three heroes mentioned.
yes, that's true. And I feel like that's another like extra layer of agency as a main theme here, and like it's a really common like JRPG trope to be either the chosen one or the only person who knows of an existential threat to the world and has to be the hero. It steps up. Like that's very like some of the most beloved and famous JRPGs of all time have that trope.
Yeah.
And it's also satirized, which is like part of the reason I have hints from Chrono Trigger, which I don't think is an exact one to one. You're the like great prophesized hero. I haven't played it in a while, but it's certainly like not excluded from that conversation.
Well, the
But
the idea is that as a result of the events of the game, history is changed.
yes,
So Chrono is the prophesized hero. He just doesn't realize it yet because the events haven't taken place that lead to him doing that.
yes, yeah. That also, I might have just started fighting Lavos too early. But
Yeah, that too. Like the fact that Chrono Trigger has like I think like upwards of like 13 or 14 different endings depending on when you fight Lavos is kind of indicative of this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense to me as to why I'm not 100% sure on that. I think I just went to I can beat the game mode too early. Man, you know what? That might also be like well to talk about it. We say there's quote unquote only one ending to Deltarune. That might be a way in which it happens, right? It may be the
Yeah,
case that you can beat the game at different points in different aspects in different ways while skipping different parts. We don't
yeah,
know. We haven't got the whole game yet.
or having certain items. One thing I want to bring up as a small point is the twisted sword.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you, yeah. So the twisted sword being an item that is made with fusion. I think if you look at the recipe for it with Malleus, it does require the thorn ring.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes.
So what I'm thinking is that maybe one ending, if not the ending that does end up averting the prophecy and averting the tragedy, would involve dipping into the weird route, aborting it to get the thorn ring, and then maybe using it to make the twisted sword.
Something you would never know to do, and like that's another one of the central themes. Like we there's too much. I don't want to say there's too much. I love you, Andrew Robinson. I love you, the Deltarune community. There's too many Gaster adjacent theories, and I feel like all the Easter egg stuff exists in there. When I say there's too much, I mean it's well trodden, well explored ground with a lot of really good theories. And so is Kris and his relationship with the soul also. But I don't know. I had to pick one of the big ones, right? So like I feel like that's the other thing that intertwines in it is finding another path, finding the cracks in the prophecy, finding the ways to alter things while still technically upholding the deal. You know, if I'm the
Yeah.
prophesized hero, and I have to slay the the devil's tail or whatever, if I have to do this particular thing, does that not also mean I can't take some time to enjoy the company of my friends, right? Like, does
Yeah.
that what does it mean to be the prophesized hero? You know, I didn't really connect those two, but that totally does fit. If you're the prophesized hero, there's something in your life you must do, which shades the rest of your life. But like, how does it fill in? How does it fit? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, damn, that's smart. That is got to be one of the central themes. They can't have an entire chapter where they lay out the prophecy, confirm you're part of well, also there's the other thing. Kris and the souls part of the prophecy are weird, to the point it's commented on in game, where Kris seems to be a necessary part of the prophecy because he can carry the soul,
Yeah.
which is fascinating, and also not this video. That's probably the other well treaded, well thought out ground of theory world that I love and is beautiful and incredible and well thought out by the community, and we don't have time for today, and we don't have time
Yeah.
for before the next chapter, sadly.
I will make one comment on that. I think the
Yeah.
reason why Kris is the only person that can carry the soul is because they are human. I feel like borrowing a little bit of Undertale logic. I don't know if it would apply or not. This really isn't even a theory, but I wonder if like if Susie were to take the soul into her body, would she just absorb it like monsters in Undertale do?
Yeah, and then of course there's whatever the hell we do to Noelle in the weird route in chapter 4. We don't even
Yeah,
know what
like
that is. We can
I think it's
speculate.
seemingly I think it is seemingly implanting a bit of the soul inside Noelle, preparing her to be a vessel for the soul, a much more powerful one.
I have similar thoughts. I don't know for sure. I also think that might be some like beginning of like a mind control tether being put in, something that connects you to the soul without necessarily you controlling it, but it controlling you. In some
Yeah,
weird like fucked up mind control plot that might be
or
part of the
or
gameplay.
potentially removing Noelle's ability to influence the soul like how Kris can. May actually, I kind of I just thought of something with that actually.
Go for
Maybe
it.
the reason Kris can resist the soul so much and act with so much agency is because they are human.
Yeah,
Maybe monsters cannot resist the soul.
that might be true. I don't have that in this theory. Uh,
Yeah, that was just a fun like
yes.
diatribe that I just thought of.
I know I agree, and we should talk about that in a future video. Hopefully, after maybe chapter 5 will give us some more info on that. We're gonna be theory rich after chapter 5. We picked the
Oh
best
my
time
god,
to get
yeah.
into Deltarune theories. Uh,
Oh, holy shit, yeah.
so um, do you want another hint, or do you want to keep poking at the what we got on the board here so far?
Uh, I'll take another hint actually.
Okay, would you like a hint from you got the Deltarune Undertale ones? Do you want Chrono Trigger or Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden?
Let's go full insane. Let's take the Barkley Shut Up and Jam one
Hell yeah!
because I did play through that with you a couple years ago.
I on my suggestion you played it, and it is one of my fondest gaming memories is watching you slowly sort of
Abs-
lose your mind while playing Barkley Shut Up and Jam
Fucking
Gaiden.
absolutely insane. I love RPGs. I love
Yes.
JRPGs especially.
Uh,
That was insane.
and in a very different and more comedic way, it's also commenting on JRPG tropes, and it has one of my favorite tropes. In Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, the player briefly controls Vince Borg 2050 as a member of the party before he betrays them and is reminded of his Blood Moses programming.
Oh
This is
right,
a classic JRPG trope. Somebody is
yeah.
briefly in your party, they rock, and then they betray you.
Or to borrow a bit from Persona 3 and some other JRPGs as well. This one's just as common in this case. They're in your party for a short while, they're extremely powerful, and then they die.
Yep, that's the other one. Or they seem to die. You also get the spoilers for Mother 3, the wonderful combo where they seem to have died, and then come back in a different identity as an antagonist.
Yeah.
You get all sorts of temporary party member who like usually rather early on in the game leaves, but like sometimes it is pretty deep in the story that you have somebody and then they're no longer part of your party.
Another example of this trope that comes from my genuine first ever JRPG that I played, Final Fantasy IV. Do you know much about that?
I don't. I'm more of a six person, and I actually haven't
Okay.
played through any of them all the way. I've played
Okay,
6 and 8 and not 7, and I don't know how.
just for some very quick context here, in Final Fantasy IV, one of the party members that you start off with at the beginning of the game, his name is Kane Highwind. He's a dragoon, basically a
Yeah,
spear wielding dragon knight. He goes around with Cecil, uh, the game's main protagonist, and is very much seen as his best friend, essentially.
yeah,
A very Kris and Susie kind of relationship between them. But uh, but you lose access to Kane for a good while after a part of the early game, and when he comes back as an antagonist. He jumps Cecil, and this happens at least twice in the game, where he comes in and betrays you or is somehow mind controlled by one of the game's antagonists, Golbez.
you know what? I'm putting that down.
Also, his name is spelled Kain.
Kain. Oh, like Cain and Abel, but with a K. That
Yeah.
wow. Hey, that's also fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was not in my hints because I've never played Final Fantasy IV, but it's there now. I think that fits very well with where I'm going here and deserves to be
The
on
the
list.
broader Final Fantasy series touches on basically the whole suite of JRPG tropes. In
Yeah.
some cases, even like I think pioneering some.
Yeah, no, yeah, they invented a good handful of them.
Yeah. If it wasn't Dragon Quest that came up with it, Final Fantasy probably did.
Yeah, yeah, usually. And then you get your occasional weird. Actually, a Nintendo JRPG did this one first, but I mean, there's only a good handful of those. Your Earthbounds, your
Yeah, yeah.
is Pokemon a JRPG?
I consider it to be so because Pokemon's entire setup is literally based off of and inspired by Shin Megami Tensei,
Yeah,
which is the predecessor to monster taming RPGs.
yeah, I would buy that argument. I'm sure it would start a flame war online. What's the joke? Uh,
No,
is
that's
Pokemon a
pretty much a
JRPG? Most heated argument in gaming history, locked by moderators after 300 pages of heated debate.
I mean, if this were like 2008, 2009, yeah, that'd probably be the case. But I think more people are kind of accepting of this now that like the weird Western dislike of JRPGs has kind of gone down a bit.
That's fair. Yeah. That makes sense to me. I guess, but yeah. Well, in the comments, we have commenters, which is amazing. We already have subscribers and commenters who
Oh,
are
sick.
actively talking about Deltarune in our comments. Let us know if you think Pokemon's a JRPG or not, and if not, what kind of game is it? Because I think we're both in agreement it is a JRPG. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. So, let's talk about this trope in regards to how it might appear in Deltarune.
So one thing that stands out to me right away,
Mhm.
and chapter 3 kind of like lays this down a little bit, is with Susie. Susie says to Kris, as like a seemingly offhanded comment, "There's nothing more that pisses me off more than people who don't tell you the whole deal."
Actually, I'm gonna put that down. Can you give me the
So
quote again?
yeah, she said like nothing pisses me off more than people who don't tell you the whole deal, or something like that. Words to that effect. And the reason I think this is because obviously Kris is hiding a lot of very critical knowledge from Susie, also from Ralse as well. Uh, Kind of in a similar way that Susie is hiding knowledge of the Dark World from Noelle by deliberately lying to her.
Yeah.
But that's another topic.
Yeah.
And I feel like when a lot of the truth does come out, which it could come out in chapter 5, I suspect it'll probably happen closer to the end of chapter 5. That's where it happens, if
Yeah.
not in chapter 6.
My
I feel like
gut
then
says pacing wise, if there's gonna be a big like party shake up, it can't come any later than chapter 5. Or if it does, it has to be heavily foreshadowed by the end of it. In which case, the theory is much easier to write. So like The reason we're doing
Yeah.
this one is spoilers. I got to call my shot. I know I said we don't have time, and there's a lot of them. We only have 1 week. This is the one where I feel like I really need to call my shot. I'm not going to get another chance.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so I feel like when that happens and Susie realizes how much Kris has hidden from her, kind of violating her trust a little bit, even if it's, kind of necessary on Kris's part with their whole plan or whatever they're doing with Carol. I feel like that Susie will eventually either break away from the group for a small bit, or maybe in some fashion, kind of like how the soul can go and observe Susie. There's just a long stretch of playtime where it's just her,
That's
just her and the soul.
that's possible, and that's I think adjacent with what I'm doing here. We do have some evidence that there'll be some separate, just from the trailer, some character separation happening.
Yeah,
If you remember, if you know what I'm talking about in the trailer, because that is a ding if you get it.
trying to remember. The trailer itself was very light on a lot of those details, unless I were to pause and do a play by play.
Oh, you know what I did?
Yeah, I kind of forgot to do that because nothing really stood out to me right away. Shit.
I'll give it to you. Because you're right. It does seem like there'll be at least in some way. It might be a weird route thing. It might not. But in the trailer for Chapter 5, I put Season 5. Let me write that before I copy paste it. In the trailer for Chapter 5, Kris is seen alone dodging a sword pattern that looks like an attack from Flowey and Undertale.
Yes, actually, I did think of that. I don't know why I didn't say it.
No,
but yeah, Kris is kind of like doing a solo battle.
Yes.
And honestly, what I'll say is maybe it's not Susie that ends up breaking away, but it's Kris. Kris uses whatever agency they have to break away from the group and try to pursue their goal.
Yes. Now we're sort of in the crux of the theory here. I do believe that Kris might disown the soul in a way that complicates the story, and we, the soul, have to find another place to go, or we play as the soul directly, as we did in the overworld part of, or the non-dark world, the light world part of Chapter 4, where we strike it out on our own as the soul. Possibly team up with Susie. All sorts of interesting possibilities there.
Yeah, because it does seem like Kris is very quickly getting sick of the soul in general. In a way that seems like to me that they've done this song and dance a number of times before.
Ding, yeah. Kris removes the soul from... sorry, not his there. Silly me. From their body.
Don't make me get the wiki page.
Don't get the wiki page. We know Kris's pronouns.
Don't make me tap the sign.
Kris removes the soul from their body in chapters 1, 2, and 4, and in chapter 3, it can leave Kris during the sword game.
Yeah. It can not only leave Kris during the sword route, but also act on its own with the digital Kris, the little sprite.
Yes.
It can come out of the TV, and that freaks the shit out of them.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yep.
And I feel like it freaks them out precisely because that's Kris kind of realizing that the soul does have a bit more control over things than Kris seems to have thought.
And I think that this is my belief of at least the central theme, or one of the central themes of Deltarune, is the tug of war between you, the player at your keyboard, and the character on the screen in a different world. And I want to talk now about Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
What happens at the beginning of Chrono Trigger? The very beginning.
Shit.
It's so simple. Like, if you're trying, the very first thing you get after naming your character.
You're talking about where Chrono's in bed?
Yeah. Literally. Yep.
It is
it is
like
Chrono
getting that's
up.
when you assume. control a Chrono, and then you get him out of bed.
Yeah, you and how does Deltarune begin?
Very much the same way with Kris getting out of bed because the player has just assumed control of Chris's body.
Yep. Deltarune. I write this one down. Let's write it out. Chapter 1 begins with Kris waking up with the soul now in control of them. Yep. I think this is what it's commenting. We don't like. This is something that like is a heavy theme. Is you go over to the piano and you can't play it, and people comment, "Don't you usually play the piano more beautifully?" You behave nicely and go visit Rudy in the hospital instead of blowing it off entirely and going home, which he is shocked by, and jokes that you've been replaced with somebody else.
Also, the dialogue options you can kind of pull from Chris's mind a little bit, to the point where Kris can even influence what the soul can say with their body, as seen in the church scene in Chapter 4.
Yeah, and also when you try and say or do something, sometimes Kris doesn't fully complete it. Yes.
Or we'll regain control of their body, doing things like biting their hand or.
Yes, and like it is the heaviest theme throughout every single chapter so far. And as the beloved Jim Sterling once said, I know writers who use subtext and they're fucking cowards. Right? If this is the main theme of your game, I can't miss it. There can be no way in which I can miss it. You can't get to the point where like, okay, I get it. It needs to be new and interesting and developed upon, which it is. And to Toby's great credit as a writer and game designer, it is always introduced and talked about in a new and interesting way every time we revisit it. It is not repetitive in the slightest. But it is very much like repeated. It is something that comes up in literally every single chapter so far.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, more of the layers of this are peeled back, with Chapter 4 revealing that Kris has a lot more direct influence, while Chapter 3 kind of reveals that the soul also has a greater deal of influence than thought.
Yeah, oh for sure.
I actually think it's interesting in that way that doing the sword route is supposed to be what clues the player into the weird route, because the weird route is all about the soul exerting that influence a lot more directly.
Yes, and that to me is like the other bit of themes are branching off of that. And we have to talk about like I think we'll hopefully not have too many answers, but even more evidence once we get Chapter 5. This one I think might actually take place in Chapter 5. I had to do this one, the hospital one, just in case, because I think the hospital one's actually way more likely Chapter 7, but I could be humbled about that if the game goes on a different curve that we're not expecting. But I do think that this one is, if it's going to happen, it's a Chapter 5 or a Chapter 6 at the absolute latest. Unless Chapter 7 is like the length of 3 chapters on its own, you can't save that twist for the last possible moment. You have to have... There's going to be an appreciable like sting to it. Kris has to betray us, the player, right past the halfway mark of the story. It has to be the third act turn. Which would be
absolutely.
End of Chapter 5. The end of Chapter 5 would fit kind of perfect for that.
Yeah.
So, that is most of what I have. But let me see if I have any other good hints here. I talked about the soul. We talked about Kris being on their own and doing something that was very reminiscent of like Omega Flowey, which obviously also explores themes of which character you are, because Flowey has mistaken you for somebody else, which is a central theme of that game that we also I probably should have included that in here.
It kind of deals with it deals with it on a lesser degree, but it deals with that tug of war of control and freedom between the player and the game.
Yes. What else was I gonna say? In Snowgrave also, whatever items you give to Noelle when you equip the items on her, she just fucking takes. With
Yeah.
the exception of Thorn Ring, which you get back later, but in a weird, fucked up way. Like, if you leave her with Jevel's Tail, she just has it. And I feel like that might be a downside, too, is that we're going to equip Kris with all this really awesome stuff, and then he's going to leave with it.
Yeah, and then they're gonna break away, and then they're going to fucking just face fuck you. Like,
Yeah. You're gonna be like, well, there goes all my most powerful items that I would have given to Susie, but I didn't know I was gonna lose them. Which
yeah,
then
ah,
also
fuck,
might
there goes the Shadow Mantle.
yeah, which also then might reintroduce save scumming when we get iterations on that again. Uh, maybe that reintroduces some themes for Undertale that haven't been in here so far. Because I think you're right that how the saves work is definitely a part, obviously, because we overwrite Kris's save. Maybe after Kris betrays us, we find that Kris has overwritten our save.
Yeah. Actually, that brings up an interesting point because you've noticed that in the Dark World, after every chapter, basically after every Dark Fountain you seal, the party's level goes up.
Yes.
I'm wondering if at a certain point, Kris was using the soul to seal fountains to level up, and then exert greater influence over the soul.
Ooh, I could buy that. And then the level up we're doing is not it's not Kris we're leveling up, it's ourselves.
Yeah. Because, like, determination as a force has something to do in Deltarune.
Yes, the determination is back. This is something that is in the Andrew Cunningham videos. Determination's back, but we don't think it means the same thing, or at the very least, it's unclear if it does. It does not seem to mean what it meant.
Yeah, because like there seems to be, at least to me, I don't know if anybody else in the comments wants to talk about this. There seems to be a bit of an equivalence between determination and light.
Yes. And I don't know how to follow that one up. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. There's something going on with Kris's ability to be in a dark world before we are, because the first save we overwrite is indeed in the dark world. Now, maybe they transfer perfectly between light and dark, but not a ton of really strong evidence that Kris has not been in the dark world before, and plenty of at least partial evidence to suggest that Kris has been, including that Kris knows how to open a dark fountain before we're told how it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kris obviously has the knowledge. That's implied. That's implied because right after we're told by Queen how it works, Kris does it. But
oh no, you're right. Yes, it is. But yes, Queen does tell us how it works, and then Kris does it well out of our control. But also, like we don't see Susie attempt it until after Kris has done it out of our control. And I believe Susie talks herself through it while doing it. I need to replay all the chapters before the new.
Well, yeah, because she's mentally going over what Queen said.
Yes, that's right. So I guess we do actually hear Kris learning that. Oh, that adds ambiguity. Toby Fox, you love to add ambiguity for us, the audience.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes.
I still personally think that Kris knew how to open dark fountains.
I would agree.
Prior to the start of the game.
But at the very least, they really nail it their first attempt. For somebody who we're presuming just learned about it today.
Yeah, because like we've seen what it looks like when we've seen someone's first dark fountain. Susie's was nothing like the TV World fountain.
That's true. Yeah, it is actively very, very different from the other ones. Yes.
Yeah, it's warped and messed up in ways that you would expect from someone's first time at trying something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, TV World, when the TV World fountain is open up, it's crystal clear. The colors are proper. There's a theme going on. It's like Kris had something in mind when opening the fountain.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I guess that leads to the question: who's going to open the fountain for Chapter 5? Is it going to be one we find that's presumably done by the Roaring Knight? Will Kris start it? Will somebody else start it? And We also have the festival going on, which is sort of like the Millennium Fair. It's not
Mhm.
100% one to one, but it reminds me a lot of like important festival is happening during
Yeah,
like introductions to characters. I guess not introduction because we're very deep into the characters' world at this point, but like
yeah.
yeah.
It's a combination of the Millennium Fair and Final Fantasy VII's Gold Saucer.
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense too. I don't know as much about Seven. Uh,
Well, I mean the underpinnings of it are obviously different because Deltarune doesn't explore the same themes in the same way that Final Fantasy VII does.
that's true.
The Gold Saucer in Final Fantasy VII is meant to be kind of like a Disney World equivalent almost. It's like this. It's like this corporate funland that's supposed to distract people and kind of take their minds away from what Shinra's doing.
Interesting, huh? I am I all of my friends have played Seven and I have not.
Yeah, I would recommend you. I would
The one I played
highly
the most of
recommend.
is 8, where I played for like maybe 6 hours total. And it was like, oh goodness, almost 2 decades ago. So I remember there's like a card game, uh, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
uh, yeah. 8 introduces the triple triad card game, but
Introduces it, brought it
7.
back. Okay, finally they understand what I was there for. Uh,
Well, like I think it's only in like 2 Final Fantasy games that I know of. There's
damn,
8 and 9, but
damn.
there's
Look, there's
they
a
also have a modified version of it in Final Fantasy 14. But
there's a reason everybody has one favorite Fallout game, and it is the one where you can play cards. Okay, Mike, do you have anything else you want to talk about here? I think that's all I really had for this. I think that there could be a real betrayal of us, the main character, in Chapter 5. I think that Kris is the
yes,
most likely, and I think that we probably end up the chapter. We've ended 3 of the last 4 chapters not in control of Kris, and all we didn't. Oh, I didn't bring up the beloved, wonderfully named, even though if it's misleading, they slash them theory, where it's believed that Kris slashed Rousey and Susie when you defeat the Roaring Knight, which would
yeah,
contribute to this if that is correct. So this is a
it would
continuation.
it
Yes,
would. I personally disagree with it a little bit, just because like the imagery for it is a little ambiguous, yeah, but
I think it's the
the fact that it
conversation
would
we have
have
afterwards is a little bit more
well,
evidence
it's
for
also
me.
the fact that Ralsei doesn't bring it up again.
Yes.
I feel like if Kris did something like that, Ralsei would either bring it up or would have like different dialogue kind of thinking about that.
I agree. Uh, and I'm not sold on that theory. I'm a perfect fence sitter on that one. So I am hesitant to make a firm commitment one way or the other,
Yeah.
at risk of being where I was at the end of chapter 2, where I'm like, oh, Kris is almost certainly the knight, which I now know is not correct. And
Yeah.
uh, although I am now kind of certain it's Des. So who knows? New chapters
Yeah.
humble us all.
Yeah. One thing, the one last bit that I do want to bring up, uh, and it's not really related to the theory that we're talking about right now. It's more piggybacking off of the comment you made about who will open the fountain in chapter 5. This is kind of so. I think it comes down to one of 2 people. If the knight is the one opening the fountains, then yeah, it would probably be the knight or the knight slash December, whatever. But I kind of been thinking that it's not strictly the knight opening fountains, but maybe Asgore doing it.
Ooh, like there's other people going around opening the fountains for the knight to jump between, and that like there's
Yeah,
multiple different people doing it.
yeah, because I've been thinking about chapter 3, how they go right to the shelter and shut the door,
Yeah,
and the fact that the Roaring Knight seems to be made or seems to have some kind of equipment of pure darkness. Maybe they can transition between dark worlds in a similar fashion to what Ralsei can do,
yeah, and
just not being a darker.
they can run around when it's night out to show up in a new one or escape through some sort of like tunnel, basement, something of like whatever, or
Yeah,
they do have some sort of magic power we're not privy to yet. That
yeah, because
that
Asgore with
tracks.
the little conspiracy board bit, Asgore talking and holding up the shadow crystal, or what seems to be a shadow crystal anyway. Uh, it seems like Asgore is maybe a little bit in on this.
Oh, for sure,
Uh,
for sure. If
may,
there's a list of people who are in on it partially or in whole, like Asgore makes that list.
yeah,
I don't know how
especially
in on the
considering how
conspiracy he
much
is, but he's definitely not unaware.
yeah, especially considering how much time he spends around Carol. Carol seems to kind of like control Asgore a little bit, funding his shop despite it selling no flowers, and yet strangely not cutting him off. Like she kind of maybe it's because she sees Asgore as a valued friend and probably still does, but also maybe it's because she needs him for something too.
Yeah, no, I would buy that wholeheartedly.
Especially because we also have, and the last part of this that I'll mention is the whole the closet big enough for a large person to fit in.
Ooh, yeah.
That's been a recurring thing at the site of every fountain.
Yeah, and if we know Asgore is going to be part of Chapter 5 and is indeed part of the prophecy, so if Asgore is the one going around making dark fountains, that would explain a lot. And
Yeah,
also like uh, would explain his role in the conspiracy if he is the one who is creating the dark fountains.
yeah, because otherwise, why would there be the scene with the conspiracy board with Asgore specifically?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And then the Black Shard, the katana, right? Like that could be his way of creating these like immaculate, very detailed, very large dark worlds. Because Susie's is like messed up, but it's also claustrophobic.
Yeah,
It doesn't really use the space very efficiently. Meanwhile, the other dark worlds we see tend to be very incredibly vividly like takes every detail and expands upon it.
yeah,
With
but
the
yeah,
well, maybe
that's
the
the
exception of 3, which is also just meant to distract you for the or correct amount of time.
yeah, it's meant to stall the player
Yes.
until the knight gets there.
Huh.
But yeah, I think that's
Okay.
basically all I had to mention.
Fun little bonus there at the end there. I buy it. I buy that the person making the dark worlds could very well be Asgore. All right. Well, now we have. I'm gonna write this above the other ones. And also that could be, if he's looking for deaths, right? Like, and he knows that the dark worlds have something to do with it, he could be creating them for like investigative purpose.
Hmm.
I gotta find December. She's in the dark world somewhere. Nobody's gonna
Or
believe
may,
that.
or maybe if it's under orders for Carol, maybe what they're trying to do is they're trying to lure the knight into the Dark Fountains.
Ooh,
If the night is December.
ooh. Okay, I buy this. You sold me very quickly and easily. I'm a believer now.
Yeah, like it's mostly just speculation, but it could be plausible. I'm just waiting for that to be like just fucking thrown out the window.
Yeah, I mean the odds are that like we're gonna have two videos with like I guess technically three theories we're willing to fight for between the two of them and change. Some other stuff we touch on. Some other stuff we've said that we believe, like Des equals night. Some other stuff that we have asserted our themes or parts of the story. And by the time we make our next video, unless we like want to try and frantically record another one right now, if you have a theory that's worth fleshing out, or you come up with one between now and the release date, and I actually find the time to record it, which I mean I'm not ruling it out, but ideally, or not maybe not ideally, but realistically, by the next time we record one of these, we're gonna have a whole new chapter to go back, and I would love to do a were we right, were we wrong, like little run through of our first two here.
Yeah.
Tom and I have talked about doing that when The Winds of Winter comes out for a Song of Ice and Fire channel. And George, if you're watching these videos for whatever reason, and I feel like that's less realistic than you watching our regular channel, or the I guess not regular channel, but more successful and known channel that is about your books. But George, if you're out there, and you are watching these videos, you can just release the book. It'll make it so much easier. We don't need to keep making those theories. We can just refine the old ones. We can just go back and do a victory lap. We've done like 200. Like one of them's got to be right statistically. Give us some feedback here. And Toby, thank you. We've only gotten 2 assignments turned in, but like we know we're getting graded next week.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Anything else you want to say to our lovely audience?
I definitely want to see what folks in the comments are going to say about what we're talking about here. I'd like to see what ideas they propose, or if they bounce off of those at all.
Yeah, absolutely. If you and like we touched on a lot here. We touched on the main themes of Deltarune. If you think we missed one, we only really brought up the 2, and we only really focused in on the 1. But if you think we missed some main themes, we didn't talk about escapism. We didn't talk about creating art, also asserted to be important themes, which I feel like true arguments. And we didn't talk. We didn't talk about other people who could leave the party. There's a popular Relzy betrays the party theory also, and we didn't talk about that one at all. So if you are believers in those theories versus this one, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your evidence for it and your like belief of where the story's going to go, and get it on the record so you can brag about it, because we're going to have more evidence one way or the other in a week.
Hell yeah.
All right, Mike, thank you. To our audience, thank you. And we'll see you for Chapter 5.
Deltarune tomorrow. Let's fucking go.
Deltarune tomorrow.